watching the hearings yesterday and today. But one of the things that stuck with me is like, how come Democrats have not been demanding, hearings on voter suppression, voter integrity, how to strengthen, our democracy, since they're so concerned about protecting our democracy? How come we don't have hearings about how to do that? How come we're not having town halls? How come we're not organizing on the state level on how to make sure to do that? We go back to the very, very beginning of this cycle, even before this cycle officially began, with Alabama closing down all of the DMV, many of the DMVs and communities, predominantly Black communities, poor communities, making it difficult for people to get ID for their new, voter registration law that required ID. Like, there was very little mobilization, mass mobilization around that issue. We have seen issues in terms of cross-check and stuff all across the South. We saw the increased issues in North Carolina. We've seen them in Wisconsin. We've seen other issues popping up in Florida, Ohio, Michigan. So many different places have had issues of this magnitude. And yet we're sitting here complaining about Russian interference. Really? I had someone tell me, well, that's because Democrats aren't in power. We were in power from 2006 to 2010. That's 4 years. We were still having issues with voter integrity and suppression then. It's never been a non-issue. There are some cycles where it's a bigger issue than others, but it's still been an issue. And we still have a very vulnerable democracy when we're talking about voter integrity and electoral process and stuff. So I'd rather have that conversation than this other conversation that Democrats insist on having. But I guess we'll have to figure that one out on our own as well. So, but it's really interesting, though, in terms of what's happening right now. And you're looking at the hearings and the, Al Franken was getting in some good ones. As a spectator, it's really interesting because like watching these hearings, it's almost more about these senators listening to themselves talk and getting in cool points with the voters and, doing it for the Twitter than it is really eliciting good responses from the candidates. I think, considering the way social media and the vitriol in this political atmosphere right now. I don't really know. Like, I was watching it with my dad, and my dad was like, oh, he sounds kind of reasonable, but I don't know anything about him. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know that the danger of him, supposedly is coming across as well if you're not like a diehard person that's hanging on the word of, certain leaders, right? Like, I don't know that comes across the way it needs to, but that's part of the strategy. People got to figure out what the game is. And if they use all this energy doing this, what's his name? Gorsuch. Yes, Gorsuch. I don't know. I said garlic. That's funny. Garon's the Klingon, head of the Klingon Empire, but that's a whole nother story. But yeah, so I don't know, like, if they can keep this up, like, okay, they're resisting, but what's the point of resisting? Like, they're resisting, they're taking symbolic stances on stuff, but it's like, why don't you actually try on things that actually matter in the long run? Because how do we actually, and again, I say we as in those people who would like to overcome the idiocracy in the system. And maybe that's the problem. Maybe they don't want to overcome the problems in the system. Maybe, they're content with the way things are. They just need to nudge a few more people to come vote. And that's what it seems like the focus is on, even with this whole, tour of Trump country to talk to Trump voters to get them to vote differently. Instead of just engaging people on issues and just communicating broadly, I don't know. I guess we'll have to keep pushing and working and figuring that out.